This is the last part of our Game Dev Day today before the official closing, and I'm super excited that Clio Montrey came all the way here to make a talk music performance. I'm looking forward to what this is, what we're going to be expect. And so this will be fantastic. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. It's a really beautiful work she's working on, and yeah, please a round of applause for Clio, and let's warm her up very well. Like, give her a warm welcome in Graz.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me okay? This mic feels weird. Okay, if you can't hear me, just scream and I'll try to pay attention. Okay, okay. Anyway, if anything is not understandable in English, I'll tell it to you in German, no problem. So I'm talking about music aesthetics inspired by games, and specifically we're narrowing it down to sort of chiptune 16-bit influences, but only influences. It's not going to be about chiptune music. It's going to be about how this aesthetic influences concert music. So my name is Clio Montrey. My artist name, much like a gamer handle, is Clio M. You'll find me on all social media under that handle. So, who am I, you ask? I am a musician. I studied mainly composition for way too many degrees than I care to admit. I sing opera. I've sung at the Theater an der Wien in Vienna, which is where Beethoven lived, fun fact. And I'm a multi-instrumentalist. Luckily, I also work in games, so I have the salary to not have to live at the opera, which is pretty great. So I'm going to do a lot of experimental and melodic music examples today. That's primarily where I work in my music world. And I do world building through music and sound. I'm Polish-Canadian, so I'm the resident non-Austrian today. Woo! More about me. I work in a really amazing game studio in Vienna called Microbird, and we are building a game that you may or may not have seen. Just go to microbird-games.com, see what it is. It's really great. You got this wonderful protagonist there. She's gazing out. What is she gazing into? Look at our website to find out. Mountains are my favorite, which is really great because I not only live near them, grew up near them, but also make games about them. So I love exploring games from all angles. I am the producer at Microbird, not the music producer, the producer. So lots of complicated relationships with Jira and things like that. All right, so now we're on to the main meat of our talk, game music aesthetics. And like Georg, I'm gonna read a bit of what I'm saying because I'm not going to say I'm old, but I like to read what I wrote down so that I don't forget anything. Synths, audio instruments, 16-bit music, and chiptune are the aesthetic we're talking about today. And these limitations that composers had in their games in earlier iterations of what we do was it helped define the aesthetic. And this aesthetic was then employed across a wide range of musical genres. I'm going to show you some examples. Unfortunately, I forgot to copy my Spotify playlist link for you, so that means I'm going to have to search each one in Spotify by keyword, which will be fun. It'll be like a game you can play along with me and laugh when I get it wrong. Okay, so basically, the first examples we're talking about are Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Koji Kondo, who did a huge amount of work for Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, specifically Ocarina of Time, things like Atari and vintage arcade machines. So the first thing I have for you is a little game. I'm going to play a piece of music, and then you're going to tell me if you recognize it, and if so, what game it's from. Let's choose a different sound. That's prettier. I didn't play that super well because I actually left my score over there. But yeah, Mike. Does anyone have an idea or an inkling of a clue what game that might be from? Zelda. Is that your final answer? Final answer? It's not Zelda. Spoiler. So, this is not from a game at all. It's from a composer named Enrique Granados from his Doce Danzas Españolas, a set of musical pieces which was composed for piano in 1890. So when played on synth, the piece takes on a much more game-like character. And the reason I showed you this is because there's a piece of music called Terra's Theme from the Final Fantasy franchise that I believe has been heavily influenced by this, because composer Nobuo Uematsu often actually sort of borrowed and stole things like Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake and waltzes by Strauss as some of his thematic material in the Final Fantasy series. So let's do the Spotify trick, and if this is too annoying, I actually do have all the files on my iPad, but we're gonna find some Granados here. And if this doesn't have sound, I just give up on everything. Okay. And it doesn't, it's okay. It's okay, I have a backup. I have a backup. So while that gets sorted out, we're just gonna use the backup. And the backup is here, once it loads. Use the amp, I think. Yeah. So basically, the orchestration, or what instrument you use for a piece of music, heavily affects what it sounds like, and sort of implies what sort of aesthetic world it belongs to. So that's why a lot of people, music directors, they use classical music pieces for many games. So here, for comparison, is Terra's Theme. Have the melody part, which is amazing. So the melody of Terra's Theme is... That sounds familiar, because before it was... So what Uematsu did is he actually just completely took a little bit of melody and turned it into an entirely new piece for the video game aesthetic. Now, when we use this sort of synth sound, can everyone still hear me? It's really, okay, amazing. When we have this synth sound in the game music, it sort of starts to make more sense. But we also have the other thing going on, which is concert versions of game music. And those sound much closer to the classical world, so we start to see a kinship in terms of style. So also concert artists borrow from early video game music sounds quite frequently. So we'll see a little bit of the back and forth here, because we'll play the Terra's Theme but by an orchestra, not on the actual game soundtrack. So that sounds a lot more like a Tchaikovsky would, and funnily enough, I have a quick Tchaikovsky to show you. No, that's not John Williams, and it's not Star Wars. But can anyone tell me what that is? Or do we? Yeah. Swan Lake. Almost. So now we have the version from Uematsu that has been put into the Final Fantasy franchise. Whoa. It's basically a one-to-one, but with synths dominating a simpler harmonic structure, and we see the crossover of the worlds. So now I'm going to show you how a choice of instrument makes a huge aesthetic difference, and how different contemporary pieces use this kind of sound. So one is one that I composed because I'm arrogant, and I'll show you that. Da-dun, da-dun. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Okay. So this piece is from 2015. It has a video that goes with it, and it is sampling an acoustic piano that I transformed electronically. Sounds pretty normal at the beginning. Near the end, though, I use a plugin called Bit Crusher, which transforms and downsamples the waveform, so it makes it a lot lower resolution. And that means that I bring it closer to the video game aesthetic. All right, so I'm going to show you an example of a pop song that I like that uses this kind of aesthetic. It belongs to a genre called hyperpop, and it's by an artist named Lalka. But I'm going to zoom forward to the part where she really does. So basically, that's an idea where you're using a lot of video game sounds for commercial pop. And that's where I think we sell ourselves a little bit short sometimes in the game world, because so much of our aesthetic choices have had a huge influence across all pop culture. There's this entire genre called hyperpop now where everyone is actually using so many chiptune sounds and things like that. I'm also going to show you a brief example from two artists named Nomana and Chipzel. They work with actual chiptune music, so it's really interesting. This one's really interesting because Song of Storms is one of my favorites. It's from Ocarina of Time. And here we have an in-game instrument that gives Link the power to transcend time and realities, which is a powerful world-building tool. But the controller becoming the ocarina, the player gets some connection to making this music, right? And you learn and play these very simple melodies. They're based on a small modal pattern of only 5 notes. And the stick also helps. So you have a D minor 6 chord altogether. That's a very melodic sounded chord. And those 6 predominant ocarina pieces in Ocarina of Time are all based on the same small pattern. the composer was trying to work within constraints. So that just really illustrates that you can take something very limited and make it as a baseline for some very appealing melodies. Now, of course, the orchestration has a lot more stuff in the background and a lot more harmonies and uses a lot more notes, more than just those 5 or 6. But the basis of a very simple melody defining an aesthetic is there. So I already talked about Raven Dress, my piece that I showed you briefly, but I'll show you a little bit of a longer sample if we're doing okay for time. And then I can make it quieter and talk a little bit about the process of downsampling. So I'll start it from the middle, which is where the distortion first starts coming in. So basically, I was experimenting with turning an acoustic instrument into something electronic. And this is a very typical thing, so I'm not the first nor the last to do this. But it's really interesting to take an instrument recording or sample, run it through a bunch of basically, what's it called, resolution reducing algorithms, and then make it come out sounding almost like MIDI. So I just wanted to note that I used bit crusher and guitar distortion most heavily in this track. Right now is, actually that's still the piano, but it's been run through a guitar amp modeler. So that's why you have that typical growly sound. All right, so I have one more example from Spotify for you, and that is a piece of opera. It's from my favorite opera, Alcina, by George Frederick Handel, and it's about a witch that lives by herself on an island and turns people into animals, so she's very similar in the mythology to Medea. And she's very lonely, and this is all about her heart being broken, so she's also pretty egotistical. But I want you to listen to the version that is on an opera recording, and then I'm going to transform it live for you. I won't lie, pretty nervous about it, so we'll see how it goes, but you should at least be able to tell the tonal and timbral differences, like what kind of things are used for what. So basically the point is to try to create an orchestration using MIDI and electronics. So y'all hear me? That was Natalie Stutzmann. She is a contralto and has a Baroque orchestral ensemble that she works with. And now we're going into the Clio version, which is going to be wild and hopefully works. All right, so I have to say the falling book did not help, but I think that was a pretty sweet recovery. Just to clarify what you might look up for this kind of thing, I do have a Spotify playlist, which I guess is not public. I will make it public on my Clio M Spotify. I have one. I'm a verified artist. You can find me, add me on there. And 8-Bit Music Theory on YouTube is a fantastic channel. They actually have a whole series how they break down every single melody in Ocarina of Time. I'm a huge nerd for that channel. It's fantastic. Something to have a look at. So references and images, that's just for posterity's sake, I guess. Holly Ray did a lot of the visuals. And me, that Enrique Granados piece, we have an ocarina company that makes actual ocarinas. And Root Note, the weird and wonderful world of chiptune music. I encourage you looking that up on Google. And here is how you can follow me for more hilarious fun. I work at microbird-games.com, already mentioned. You should definitely have a look at our game website there, and you can email me, cleo@microbird-games.com. This talk had nothing to do with that, so my personal socials are Spotify, like I said, Clio M, Discord, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Twitch. I'm on all of them. Not equally active on everything. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions, I'm open to them right now. Joey. Oh my God. Okay. If you. Oh my. Okay. Fine. I'll make it Tsugabe. I did not prepare at Tsugabe, to be completely clear, so I'm really scared right now. But I'm definitely going to do one because, yes? ¿Qué tal? Sí? Yeah. Yeah. But actually, I have an opera piece I can pull out of my pocket, apparently. Just give me a second, I'll set this up. Okay. Right. I hope I still have this in here. Please be in here, please be in here. Yes. It is here. Okay. Any other questions? Please, no more Sugabin, please. Yes? Yeah.
What is your education in
Uh-huh.
how did you get to the same
That's very interesting. So I started my life as I wanted to compose for films because I saw Pirates of the Caribbean. And then I went to music school at uni and I realized that's not what we do here because it's all like really weird atonal 60s stuff. So I studied that. And along the way I found opera and I sang for some time. I did mention this at Theater an der Wien for the last 4 years as a chorister in the Schönberg Chor and sang a lot of other projects. So I have studied both composition and singing. And once, while I was on the road of doing that, I actually worked at the Kunstuni Graz in artistic research department for a participatory art project. And the more I worked on that, the more I thought, hey, I sort of wanted to make a more democratic opera sound, something that's a little more fun, because I love operas so much. But to get people into it, like you have to wait, you have to drag them down. They're like, oh my God, I want to see it. And then you finally make them see it, and then they're like, oh, this sucks for like 20 minutes. And then there's an argument like, oh my God, it's amazing. But it takes all this prep time. Like, wouldn't it be great if we had more accessible forms of opera? And there's lots of companies working on that, but their publicity is not as fiery as a more commercial enterprise. So you don't hear about them. Like there's a company in Vancouver doing like firecrackery VR opera and stuff like that. So I hope this answers your question in a very sort of tangent-y way. Okay, nothing else?
I mean, I would keep asking the same
Okay.
question. We know that.
I mean, I can show you guys how a musical theme is built, if you want to hear it.
Who would be up for that?
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to use this mic because like holding this is very confusing. Can everyone hear me talk on this? Because I know it's all reverby, but okay, great. So let's switch sounds to something more friendly. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a very simple motif from a game or something, and we're going to turn it into a theme and variations. So we're going to make different things sort of grow around it. So I suggest something from Zelda, maybe? Is that cool? A little Zelda piece? All right. So maybe... all we've been doing is changing some timbres, changing some chords, changing some tempi in a very easy fashion. If we had a little more time, we can make it a lot more elaborate, or a grand piano, that'd be really fun. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much. Can we have another round of applause for this wonderful talk performance by Clio?
You guys are way nicer than the opera audiences, so I want you all to get your butts down to an opera like tomorrow and cheer for those poor people. They work their butts off on there, and they need more love. I'm just saying.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll just quickly rob you and take this mic. Yeah, thank you so much again. This was just wonderful, and I was so much looking forward to this, and it was perfect. Thank you. So everyone, so this is the end of our mini Game Dev Day here at the Button Festival. Not entirely, because of course I really want to thank everyone who was organizing and who was involved. Of course, thanks to all the speakers, everyone coming here from all different parts of Austria. And I'm super excited and thankful for the team organizing this, the Game Dev Graz community. Now it's getting louder all of a sudden. No, thank you so much. So Stefan was really doing a great job together also with Arian, working on the indie Game Dev area and doing this stuff. So thank you so much for the both of you. Can we have a round of applause for Arian and Stefan? Then there's this lovely person behind the camera and the video. So this is Matthias. He's doing always those wonderful pictures you see behind side on our website. And this time, not pictures, but videos. So thank you so much, Matthias. Behind the wall, we have Clemens and Johannes, who have done quite a lot of preparations also for this event. Busy at the moment exhibiting the award-winning games from Clemens. But thank you so much also to Clemens and Johannes. So can we have a round of applause? They might hear it or not. And of course, Phil and Jacques and everyone else from the Game Dev Graz community who are putting together the community, organizing regular meetings. If you want to learn more, we do have a Discord channel. If you look on our website, Game Dev Graz, a Discord channel which you can join, where we have regular meetings, regular information, if you want to join the Game Dev community. And I hope I did not forget anyone or anything. No. Then I thank you myself. So I thank you for coming. It's an honor to see all of you live again. I would be full of tears now, but I'm just tired. So just imagine, like I would be full of sad tears. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and looking forward to hopefully a grand, big Game Dev Days soon again, also in real life at the TU Graz. Thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the Button Festival. And thanks to all the speakers, and thanks to everyone involved organizing. Bye bye.